Welcome to another episode of Fast Pitch Focus, where we take a look at South Dakota high school softball, and it's been exciting so far this year. On this episode, we'll give you some highlights, a 1 versus 2 matchup, some undefeated teams, and some big games to watch for. Let's get started in Class AA. I put out my rankings every Wednesday, and this is what the rankings looked like back on Wednesday, just a couple of days ago. Harrisburg was undefeated at the time. Lincoln number 2, Washington, Brookings, and Stevens, each with 1 loss in the 2, 3, 4, 5 spots. Let's go back to Tuesday to see how this happened. Harrisburg came into the game against Jefferson, who was ranked at the time in last week's power rankings. The Tigers jumped out to a 5-0 lead. They sprinkled runs across the first 3 innings to get that lead. Malia Knutson, Haley Boer, and Madeline Ducheneau all had 3-hit games, while Cora Payne was in the circle and pitched 6 innings, giving up 3 hits, no earned runs, and 5 strikeouts. And oh, by the way, while she was at the plate, had a 4-hit game, all singles. Big game for Cora Payne, big game as Harrisburg takes down Jefferson and stays undefeated. Here's their head coach, Keith Flemmer, on the Harrisburg Tigers.
You know, we're looking really good. We've played some really good teams, and we battle. One thing that I've really noticed about these girls is that they never give up. They work hard. If they're down in the game, they'll battle, and really get after it. Really looking forward to a big week this week, playing Jefferson tonight and playing Lincoln on Thursday. Those are going to be 2 really good games, and I can't wait to see how we compete against them.
Harrisburg had their second big game in 3 days. They would take on another ranked team on Thursday, this time Lincoln. It was a tight game early on, with Madison Evans of Lincoln and Cora Payne of the Tigers locked up in a pitching duel. Lincoln took a 1-0 lead into the 4th inning, and that's where Dorman slaps a double, and Peyton Seafelt then drives her in with one of her 4 hits on the night, and the Pats take a 2-0 lead. Harrisburg gets 1 back in the 5th to tighten things up. The Tigers would load up the bases, and then Madison Veal would walk to score a run, and that would make the game 2-1 at the time. So we go to the bottom of the 5th in a 1-run game, and that's when the Lincoln Patriots got things moving on the base paths. Madison Evans hits a rope to left field. That scores as a double. And then right after her in the lineup, Kira Lubavitch, and she is a hard hitter and proves it right here. Scorches one to left field. Nora Christensen and Madison Evans would score. They would add 4 runs in that 5th inning to take a 6-1 lead. And in that 6th inning, the Patriots bats kept on going. They churned out 5 more runs to get the 11-1 run rule victory in 6 innings. Their pitcher, Madison Evans, threw a 3-hitter with 12 strikeouts, and the offense just clicked. 13 hits at the plate for Lincoln in that game. So Lincoln likely will move up to that top spot in AA, but a lot of other contenders, a lot of 1-loss teams, including the Washington Warriors. They had a good week. Played against Roosevelt on Tuesday, and they jumped out with 12 runs in the 1st inning. The entire offense had it going on. They were running the bases. They were playing great in the field, and ended up getting the big win against Roosevelt. So Washington's still a 1-loss team. Brookings, another team to keep an eye on. They are right in the mix with the top teams in the state. Their only loss this year came to Lincoln. That was last Thursday, just over a week ago, when they lost by just 1 run to the Lincoln Patriots. So definitely a team to watch. They got the win over Mitchell on Tuesday, and they moved to 4-1 on the season. In at number 5, we've got Stevens. Just need to get some more games in, but their only loss this year came to Harrisburg early on, and they're looking forward to maybe getting those games in this weekend. Speaking of which, they've got a big game coming up Saturday at Washington, where Lainey Van Zee of Stevens will go in the circle to try to get a big win on the road. Jefferson also plays Washington next Tuesday for what could be a very important game in the rankings as well. So Washington with a big week coming up next week. Let's move to Class A now. And I've got Dakota Valley number 1, but you really could put Dakota Valley or West Central at number 1. Those two teams look really strong, and we'll get to that soon enough where they're going to play against each other here in the next week and decide who really is the top team going into the second half of the season in Class A. But Dakota Valley did get a nice win against Sioux Falls Christian, a 12-0 shutout, and they stay undefeated at that number 1 spot. We had a ranked game between West Central and T Area, the number 2 and number 4 squads going at it, and West Central didn't look like a number 2 team. They looked like the best team in the class. They didn't waste any time jumping on the scoreboard in that game as they plated 4 in that first inning. Caitlin Hoff drove in the first run of the game. That was followed by 3 consecutive singles, and that would give the Trojans that 4-0 lead going into the second. In the bottom of the first, Caitlin Hoff struck out the side, and she continued to roll. The bats were clicking for the Trojans. Emily Stofferen lights one up and takes it all 4 bases. Past the left fielder, she would round second, third, and all the way home for the home run, and the Trojans would roll 7-0. Caitlin Hoff, big game for her, struck out 14 in 7 innings of work. And Jock Nielsen, she collected 3 RBIs, and 5 other players had multi-hit games for the West Central Trojans, who looked really good on Thursday night. Other teams in Class A rankings to talk about. How about Del Rapids? They gave Vermilion their first loss of the season, scored 18 runs on the 18-7 win on Monday. And then Madison. Their record is the least impressive of the top 5 teams, but don't let that fool you. A very good team. Amanda Vacanti, she shined against Sioux Falls Christian as she struck out 8 in just 3 2/3 innings of work, gave up no hits, no earned runs, no walks, and by the way, at the plate, she also collected 3 hits and 4 RBIs, including a home run. So a huge game for Amanda Vacanti of Madison. Here's some big games to look forward to in the next coming week. We've got West Central taking on Dakota Valley. We talked about this one Monday. 1 versus 2. I mean, really, you could put either 1 or 2. This game will decide who is the top team so far in Class A. And really looking forward to that one, as both teams are really hitting the ball very well, playing in the field very well, and we both know they've got aces in the circle. Also, check out the Watchdog Classic a week from Saturday. Dakota Valley, Alcester Hudson, Gayville Vollen, West Central again, winner. Lots of good teams in the Watchdog Classic playing in Beersford, and that comes up a week from Saturday. So if you want to catch some good South Dakota high school softball, you'll be able to get a lot of games in next Saturday. In Class B, not a ton of games getting played, but it's Alcester Hudson who's really jumped out to that 5-0 start. They don't get another game now until just about a week when they take on Sioux Falls Christian in Sioux Falls. So looking forward to see how they do against a team in a class above them. How about Bonham? They got a 19-5 win against Avon. They move up to 2 in the rankings. Arlington still has not lost a game this year. They got a sweep against Flandreau last week and then a sweep against Oldham Ramona Rutland. And they've got a really tough schedule coming up themselves as they get set to take on Del Rapids today on Friday, and then Saturday take on Castlewood. And Castlewood really looking for a marquee win. So those 2 games are going to be exciting games to watch in Class B coming up this week. I expect some definite movement in the rankings coming up next week. Well, that'll do it for this episode of Fast Pitch Focus. We'll come back at you in 2 weeks to get you ready for some mid-May action before we get set to hit the playoffs. And looking forward to bringing you more from coaches, highlights, and big games to watch on Fast Pitch Focus on Midco Sports. We'll see you next week.